and it's very intense. So, to help you with that, we have the answer. You can be super Puerto Rican anytime you want, day or night, at your own pace. So, this is wonderful Melinda Gonzalez. She is the coordinator of the program. Speak a minute.
Sure. Thank you so much, everybody. I'm just going to encourage everybody to come to the front, but if you have visual or comfortable, you're comfortable. It's just a good, more intimate space, right? And just so we can have a conversation, rather than just, we get to sort of deep dive into the cultural ambassador program. We're very excited about, because this is what I spend every day, my waking days about. But it's what I love, and the way I present it is like all of Centro's information, and probably not all of it because there's tons of it, we get to reduce down and present it as an online course or online courses at this point. And there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. It's not a competitive sense. It's just like, it makes sense that Centro, as the repository of the Puerto Rican experience, particularly in the U.S., that we produce online courses, we produce reports and books, but we moved into hopefully a more technological state where we're more accessible, and that's the exciting part to it too. So Raquel and I are going to walk through the 4 courses that we offer, plus the Cultural Ambassador Junior piece too, but we're also going to be a little bit interactive and show you some of what it actually looks like too. Okay? Sounds okay?
Right. So I am an anthropologist. I have a PhD in social anthropology from the University of Salamanca, and I have a master's of Puerto Rican studies from Estudios Avanzados de Puerto Rico y el Caribe in Viejo San Juan, Puerto Rico. And decades of education. While I was doing my master's, I was working for Santiana, and I was creating curriculum for them. So then we had started making teaching guides a while back for our documentaries, because sometimes we need to unpack things and share things, or teach people how to share information. How many here are educators? Well, everyone here is an educator, but who does this? Who gets paid to be educated? Yeah. Right. Where do we educate at?
VMCC.
VMCC, perfect.
I'm a theater artist, and
okay.
so I'm nomadic.
Okay.
But I'm a teaching artist as well.
Wonderful, cool.
So I'm personally building a curriculum in agroecology and nutrition.
Oh my gosh.
And I currently also do education for the Department of Health and Human Services.
Well, wonderful. We would love you to collaborate with us. And any other educators that get paid to educate? Because we all educate. You? Perfect. No. And this is the thing too. I think, we consciously use this word ambassador because it's you going out and sharing this goodwill and sharing this information. And when you see this one up here, well, when we go to our first little slide, to educate and to celebrate. And I think that is so important. It's something that made me feel really good about working on this project, because when I do my presentations, I always talk about getting it in here, but getting it in here. And if I touch your hearts, I've won. And you're not going to remember hardly anything I said, but you're going to remember how I made you feel. And if I make you feel powerful and excited or proud, then I'm a winner. And then you're going to do something with it. And that's what our best educators do. When we say things like theater, I do a lot of things with music. And I was an art teacher once upon 4 jobs ago. So now that STEAM's in, I'm trending. But we know those things, and the laughter and the excitement are what makes learning fun. And when my little boy tells me to do nothing all day because he was just having fun, I'm excited because that teacher, or those teachers, know they're too. So that's what we're trying to do with ourselves, with our people, with our children, and with our friends. Which Becca heard was like, why do we need to learn about Puerto Rican culture, history, anything? And my question would be, A, why not? And B, as a published children's author, I know the numbers of books that aren't about our people and that aren't written about our people, and that hurts everyone. It hurts our children, and it hurts other children and other people as well. So the answer to share with people is that because, we should learn about everyone. And we are part of this U.S. history, if it's a very United States-centric kind of conversation. Puerto Ricans are United States citizens, and we've shared a history, an intimate history with them for centuries. So with that, and like Melinda said, this is a conversation. This is getting bigger and bigger. We're so excited. We're like, oh, you, me, and coffee at 9:15 in the morning. so at any point, any questions or any clarification, please bring that up. We want to help to increase education and career opportunities because as we know about ourselves, we know more and better. We could do more with that information. The knowledge and understanding about how important cultural heritage is to our identity. Okay, some of us look at questions about psychology and mental health. Okay, we know what happens to colonized people. And we know what happens to people that hate what they see in the mirror. And we don't want that. Okay? We want to talk about community-based solutions, improving the lives of Puerto Ricans across the country. So, as Ruben always likes to mention, and I'm very proud to share, I am a Lorain Rican. I am born and raised in Lorain, Ohio. And some of you might not know where Ohio is. It's okay. And I made it my personal calling in life to make sure the cultural ambassador talks about lots of diaspora communities. So when you see some of the quizzes that I created, and I'll be mentioning Chicago, or Ohio, or Philadelphia, it's because I love our New Ricans, and I love the New Rican history. We have many histories. And the New Rican one kind of dominates lots of spaces. But when we invite people to help us with curriculum, or when we like go to Holyoke, and I don't know, honor them in a parade, bring their kids out to learn and share with us, then Holyoke isn't exotic. I don't want to be the only Puerto Rican you know from Lorain, and I don't want you not to know my history. I'd like to know your history, and I'd like you guys to know mine, because that's reciprocity. And that makes it intimate, okay? I'm not a subject anymore. And then lastly, we're talking about issues in Puerto Rico and the diaspora. And everyone here, I'm talking to the saved, but when you talk to people, I'm very interested right now in developing some student exchange programs because we want our kids in Ohio that are 3rd and 4th generation Puerto Ricans that don't speak Spanish, that don't know where Puerto Rico is, that don't have abuelita there anymore, to feel that heart connection with our brothers and sisters and cousins, because we still have cousins and brothers and sisters on the island. In this time of need when we really do have to advocate and to bring ourselves together to help things get done, because they're not getting done. So, with that, we started off with some institutions you all might know. We have Aspira, that many of you are familiar with, and Puente, that's a social justice academy in Brooklyn, Williamsburg. Anyone know what Puente? Okay, so they do wonderful, beautiful work. Wonderful and beautiful because they do a lot with public art. That's dear to my heart. And then, anyone here of the National Puerto Rican Day Parade? Okay, one or two of us. All right, and everyone has made references to parades and festivals because we do have a really big platform. I believe about 150. Okay, now the new discussion we've been having is that we cannot do this for one day. Okay, Vinny, who works with me with the parade, knows that we start planning in September for the parade that's coming out in June. It's almost a year-long process. Who here is involved with parades or festivals in your own space? Is it easy?
Nope.
Is it fun?
Yes and no. Yes and no.
Yes and no. It's a lot of work. So, give it either. So, with that, we don't have the luxury to do a one-day party and move on. Okay? So we need to take these platforms we have and work with them, build them, and expand them. So what the National Puerto Rican Day Parade is, we've partnered with Centro a couple of years and done a cultural boot camp. And the materials I'm sharing with you, we gently let all our scholars know that we would really strongly appreciate for them to be here with us one day to do this training. And they beautifully joined us graciously. So at that point, that was 60 children, well, young adults from the tri-state area. Okay, and we understood that if these are our best and our brightest, these are the ones we want to share this information with, and we'd like to challenge them to share it with others. Because the scholarship that we give is not a gift, it's an investment. And so if we figure we're investing in you, we can't tell you what to do, because you can't tell teenagers what to do. But you can share things, and you can hope that the pride of being a scholar, the pride of being in our parade, and the pride of being Puerto Rican will push them on to do other better things. And at 2:30 this afternoon, we're going to have a panel of the youth. 2 of them on the panel are our scholars. So we have already seen the fruit of our labor coming in. And we're seeing our kids, pick up the baton and work with it and make us proud, sharing our culture and our history. So I'm going to go through the 4 courses that we have. I'm sorry, are there any questions so far? Sure.
Would that program be available to teenagers outside the tri-state area?
This is online. It's available on the moon. So
There we go.
it's online. It's free. After this, I'll show you the link. The big joke with Ruben was anyone who doesn't have Ruben's phone can look at it right now. you have a phone made in like 2005 on. Anything that you can get online, it's there. So you register for free, you do it for free. And why I'm saying youth, please understand that that's our biggest focus, but any age person, okay? And it can be done individually. We like it to be done somehow in some kind of a cohort because we learn together, okay? And that's why we do things, so that you can hear it, and this question that I didn't even have can be answered and I can understand better. But you can at home quietly do this all by yourself. The only caveat is you're an ambassador. You need to share. And we're giving this to you for free, but nothing's for free. And we would just ask, I think as someone who has an academic background, sometimes it saddens me that we are very greedy with the information and we use it as something to leverage power. But my best and most beautiful professors have been the ones that aren't selfish and aren't intimidated. Because if I'm good, it doesn't take away from me from you being good or from you knowing. So that's where we come from with this program. Online and free, and we'll show you how to register in a little bit. So what we've done is first I'm going to share with you our documentaries. I think you all might know Centro has a beautiful AV program. We create beautiful documentaries and also a TV series. So the first one we have is no favorite of mine or anybody's, but this is essentially the patron saint of Centro. Does anyone here know who Pura Verde is? All right, and what do we know about Pura? Oh, these are my scholars. Okay, so these ones they've already gone through our program, but yes, speak.
So Pura was the first Puerto Rican woman to work in the New York Public Library.
Exactly.
And she was the famous author called Cucarachita Martinez and Ratoncito Perez. And it was the first book to be published in Spanish and in English.
Very good.
Wow, está bien, está bien.
So wonderful. What else do we have? And the first publication was in 1929 of the English version.
Yes.
It wasn't until the 60s that she published it in Spanish, but also radical. Both of these things, like being a woman to get published, possibly the first Latina to get published. Anyone else want to share a little bit more about her? We can go on and on and on. I'm going to limit myself. She also helped to found a number of institutions because, like almost everyone in this room, she was an institution maker. Because it's not me, it's us, and I will be gone. Okay, so how do we keep that alive? Cucarachita Martinez was the first, so she published 7. Okay, and she ended up with the book Perez and Martina. That's true, exactly.
It was my favorite.
Colon, a Puerto Rican folk tale. So she had a vision to have Puerto Rican in the title of the book. Which these are really important things, especially when you're a group that's not being published and not being looked at. Okay? She was this librarian. She also was a folklorist. Okay? And when she continued on with her career, she went to Puerto Rico and did research and was very meticulous about what she was doing and how she was doing it. So, like libraries and archives make sense with us with Pura. Lastly, when she came back, she worked with someone in the Bronx. Do we have a name? Lillian Lopez, and they took over the Bronx and they did this incredible literacy program. Okay, and at one point in time she starts embracing puppetry and doing theater performances. Okay, so she made it accessible, and a trendy word now is family literacy, which I really like to use and to promote. And they were doing that back in the 60s and 70s, right? 69, 70s when it started. And going to some of our neediest populations and sharing literacy, but also sharing pride and sharing joy, which right now, I also have a confession, and you'll see it at the end, I have a couple of children's books published. And at one point in time, I thought it was sharing culture and heritage and knowledge, and now I understand I'm sharing hope. Because in a time that is so bleak, we need to give our people the most basic things. We're not talking about our people, yeah, our 4-year-olds, but the moms and the grandmas who read these stories too need this hope.
I have to say something. Buddha loved you, and she felt that there was so much hope
Right,
in educating our youth.
right.
And when the froze came out in the 50s, she thought it was the greatest thing. And here I have my 2 sons who did fro, and I'm, that battle that
Right.
most parents have, and she told me it's wonderful.
My daughter as well.
Yeah, no, it was hope. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so she tried, estaba vendiendo orgullo. Estaba vendiendo alegría, which is another thing that everyone here in this room, to some extent, is doing. Okay, and she did it in this like magical, fun way. And you can watch the documentary. We actually have interviews by Lillian Lopez. I've listened to all of them. And also Julio, one of our archivists. So we have her voice.
I know.
And we have her letters. And we have some of her puppets. So next time you're in town, and we did this beautiful exhibit of posters, which is behind you all. So when you get a chance, please look at it and see. And coming up, we're gonna have some really cool projects with Buddha. So, all right. So the next video I can't spend so much time on because Melinda wants to talk. But we have the founder of Centro, Frank Bonilla, of course very dear to us, and then someone who cultivated a beautiful space and understood how to make connections with one kind of group and another kind of group. Because once again I said, very Puerto Rican, being Puerto Rican, some of the biggest allies have been Polish and Dominican. Like Polish, go figure, but I was in Williamsburg for years, and my Polish superintendent made me a superstar. Okay, so we need to share our culture with other people and find these connections because we are all connected. Then we have Clemente Soto Vélez. Anyone familiar with him?
Yeah.
Okay, who is he? What does he do?
Well, he was
A poet?
Very well known.
Beautiful, incredible poet. Fun fact from Lattice, like my mom. He had to leave Puerto Rico because of his activism under threat of death.
Yeah.
So what do activists do when you move them somewhere else? They become activists again. So in the Lower East Side, organizing and doing things. Has anyone been to the Clemente Soto Vélez Cultural Center? Gorgeous. Okay, a beautiful space. And actually in there is Teatro Sea is housed in there, and Time Back to Buddha. They do theater both for adults and for children, and bilingual theaters. So we're seeing, this connection and this, and if you talk to some of our spoken word artists, they didn't know Clemente Soto Vélez because they know the traditions and the history. And then the last one, the ones I showed you, the first 3 are about 50 minutes long, and they're in Spanish with English subtitles or vice versa. The last one is a little bit shorter. It's our pleno one. It's our oldest of the pieces. It's about 25 minutes long. Yeah, 37. Okay, 37. So a little bit shorter. And the fun part about this, besides, pleno is incredible, and I love it, and I do study a lot of music with what I do. They pick one song, and they study that song, and they explain that song, which is great because sometimes we're not just singing about nothing. Sometimes we're really singing about really important things. So this one focuses on una huelga, strike, and Mayagüez by women. So I like that piece of, if they were going to pick something to study, it would be that. So that is a beautiful piece and up and very easy to share. And the one we're waiting to come into launch soon is a piece on Tato Gaviera. Anyone ever hear of Tato? Ni de aquí, ni de allá. So speaking of spoken words, an incredible poet, dramaturgo. He just did a lot of things and was very involved with the community. And once again, someone who celebrated us and talked about some things that might be a little bit difficult to talk about, but that we need to talk about. And he spoke about it in a way that allowed for a conversation. And so all of these pieces, we do have teaching guides for them. Well, and we link one. I'll show you the teaching guides in a minute, but there's the teaching guides and there's the quizzes. So, not to be sneaky, but especially if you're using it in a class or with a group, I myself have used it for classes, and you do it on your own, but then you take the quiz, and you let me see you've done the quiz. So it's something to help us monitor the people who are doing the work. If you're doing it as a class, it helps you to make sure your students are doing all of this. And the quizzes happen and then just kick back to the students. So if you don't want to do anything too fancy, you tell them to take a picture of the screen. And it says, congratulations, your name, you got this kind of a score. So, it helps everyone keep track of what's going on. with that, with the documentaries and also with the next course, we tied in this heritage poster series. So if you had a physical one, it'd be about the same size as the poster boards behind you. But they are online everywhere. So, today, if you had a smart board, you could put it up, and your student can zoom in and zoom out to different things. We have images and we have text, because why? Educators?
It's good to have multiple means of stimulation for it.
Exactly. Exactly. Some of you are listening to me and some of you are watching. And some of you are like moving around a little bit, because kinesthetically, and I'm moving around a whole bunch. So we know there's different ways to learn, and we try to respect that, to celebrate that. And we give you a little bit of text, because these things, we could write books about them, we could make movies on them. But when it's the beginning, a lot of us don't know anything about any of this. When I moved here from Ohio, I thought all my students were going to talk to me about the young lords, and explain to me Rico poetry. And then I started talking to them, they're like, no. I'm like, what do you mean? Why don't you know? And they were so sad. They're like, but Dr. Ortiz, no one ever taught us. And I was like, oh, so it's not in the water and it's not in the blood. Okay? And we have parents struggling to do 2 and 3 jobs. We don't have time to do that. So it's our responsibility to make institutions make the time for that. And then unfortunately, on top of everything else we do, we have to teach ourselves and try and teach them. So these pieces, I don't know, does anyone here work with younger children? No? My son and I, we've done tons of timelines, and I think they're so much fun because they're visual and they put things in some kind of an order. And sometimes we need that, like what came first and what came second. And timelines aren't perfect because sometimes things overlap and go back and go forward. But how many of us know United States history well? I didn't, and I still don't feel I do. I did 2 classes in high school. With my undergrad, I did Latin American Studies, so I studied Latin America. With my PhD, I did Spanish and Puerto Rican history. And then they made me teach a history class 2 years ago. And I'm like, I got the historia. And a big part of it is that even if we study it here, it's very disconnected. And we know our history isn't even included in there. So it's hard to learn a history that's in such choppy pieces, it makes no sense, because it makes no sense. So this can help a little bit with that. So we have 5 of them.
Let me ask you something. You're citing all of these things, but I have some nephews, and I would like to give them some of the information that you have.
Right.
But it depends on the level.
Right.
Okay? So
Right.
what kinds of books are you talking about, and where are they?
Right. Well, one of the things is, I published for 4 to 8-year-olds, and I teach 18 to 80-year-olds. So there's something called a differentiation. Okay, so for example, these posters that I'm showing you, we can use them with a 4-year-old, and we can use them with a 40-year-old. Now there's books, we do have like chapter books and things that you can get for a middle school student, which is about an 8 to a 12-year-old. Okay, the readings that I'm going to share with you, a lot of the materials is high school up. So we would say like 10 to 16. All right, so the first couple years of college, the last years of high school. But at the end, I'm going to share with you the Cultural Ambassador Junior, and that's for our younger kids. So, and then if you're here with us this afternoon with the archives, we have Anibal who's going to show you different books, because history is history. It's just the language I use to share the history that makes it different. And I personally, like I said, I write for 4-year-olds. I write for 40-year-olds. I write for 18-year-olds. I've been lucky enough to learn the languages of those groups. I never talk down to anyone because that's disrespectful. But I know what words would work with this group versus another group, versus if all of them were the beautiful young people here, we'd have to talk about Bad Bunny and DJ Escuela, and like tie it into something they know. So it's just about language. But we can share with you that with the archives. So the second part is all essays. This is the one where the reading level is a little bit higher. My people who have done Cultural Ambassador, it was doable, right? It wasn't super academic. We know the first reading is a little bit long, but the second one, it says something about, and none of my ambassadors can answer, sorry. Labor migration and U.S. policy. Where was the first migration? From Puerto Rico? No. New York! Why do they always want to talk about New York? Not New York. 1901, 1903. The first big wave of migration.
Hawaii.
Hawaii. And why were they dragging poor Puerto Ricans to Hawaii? Pineapples! Because it was hot. And like sugarcane, pineapple, same thing. And how did they get them from Puerto Rico to Hawaii? Like, do we even know where Hawaii's at, by the way? It was like cut it and stick it.
Yeah.
Alaska and Hawaii. People told me Alaska's an island. Yeah. It's floating there in the middle of blue. I mean, I get it. So why are they dragging people? How are they dragging people from Puerto Rico to Hawaii?
Train.
Well, not the first. I mean, we get to the train, but first we get a boat, and then we get a train, and then we get another boat. Fun fact: the train was under armed guards because after that first boat ride, people were like, "This is not exactly what we thought it would be." So, and that's why we have a big population of Puerto Ricans in California because they refuse to get on that second boat. Okay? Yeah. So I welcome you, and that's all I'm going to tell you. We're good. So we're hoping this year maybe the National Puerto Rican Day Parade would love to celebrate the Hawaiian population. The Hawaiian Puerto Rican population is still a proud Puerto Rican population. Yes. The piece that we share with you is 5-6 pages. So in a very short, concise way, she shares this story with you. And hopefully you don't tear up at the end. But unfortunately a lot of our stories are like that. But there's still stories that we need to know and that we need to share. So like I shared with you, we have teaching guides and quizzes for both of those first two pieces and for all of the material that we make. And then we bring it to the present, okay? So, and this is where Melinda gets to shine. So, when we had our beautiful young adults with us in June, we knew they'd listen to the history, we knew they'd learn about the planet, but we thought they'd really like to see Noel Quiñones, drop a few lines, or talk about maybe these women that you might have heard about, the Serrano sisters that I got to meet on the camera, and some of our present day heroes. So Melinda's going to talk to you a little bit about the Puerto Rican Voices pieces.
Yeah, thank you so much. Raquel doing such a good job, so entertaining. I love hearing her. It's like, you can tell that she's a natural teacher and loves what she does, and I think that this is why we're here. Is like this is the starting gate, just like having this orgullo and just deep diving into what our history and culture of Hawaiians, right? It's fascinating. So we get to do that. It's lovely. But the Puerto Rican Voices is essentially started as a TV show. It's a series. So it goes from New York, sorry, but then it went to Hartford, Connecticut, to Massachusetts, yes we do, Chicago, Florida, Philadelphia, absolutely, and so,
Ohio.
huh?
There's Ohio piece, there's piece. We are trying to get a crew to go to Hawaii. We've all volunteered. Keep your fingers crossed.
And the idea is to go to California
And to California
community
too.
there and then go and jump over to Hawaii. But these are 89, and how I know this is because we've all seen them. 89 roughly 8 to 10 minute segments on different aspects of Puerto Rican traditions, cultural expressions, all mixed together. So like I was saying, you have the Serrano sisters, because these are folks that might not be in our radar, but if you know who Camacho is, if you know who Tito Trinidad is, or what's the other name? John Ruiz, you need to know who the Serrano sisters are, especially Cindy. Amanda just won another title. Like she's racking them up in like six different divisions. So I know this. It's just like you become fans, of this. But as you listen and watch, one of the through lines through the Puerto Rican Voices is contribution. And everywhere we go, whether it's urban, suburban, rural, you have to cross bodies of water, Puerto Ricans have made contributions that are just the legacy. That's what we do. That's we bandera And then we get to work. We roll up our sleeves and we get to work in different expressions, in cultural expressions, athletic, what have you. So some of that, and I would just want to, you should have all received this as well. And I would just want to show you this. You don't have to pull it out. But we have 2 events, and it's called the Orgullo Film Series. It's the Puerto Rican Voices film series. So the first part is on individuals. Individuals have contributed, and these are folks like Noah Quiñones, a young Puerto Rican poet, and the Serrano sisters. Wally Amaro from Philadelphia, who's not only a handball champ, because that's the starting point, handball champ, but he goes back and he creates events for the young people, one, to get them off the street, but also to know that there's hope, that there's a brighter future within your community. You don't have to go outside of your community. And that's one thing we've known from Hurricane Maria all the way up and down before that, is that our community is very resilient and resourceful, and creativity comes for our community. We don't have to look outside of it too. So that's a really marvelous thing. The second one is in November, and it is on Puerto Rican institutions and organizations like Aspira. So Puerto Rican Voices goes into Aspira of Pennsylvania and the work that they're doing there. They go into Taller Puerto Riqueño and to the Caribbean Cultural Center here in New York City, and throughout the legacy is not only national, it's global, right? So that's what we want to set the tone. Sometimes we receive so much negative information that we want to just counter that with what we're really doing everywhere we go. So I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay, just real quick there. All right, so then the third one is our infamous timelines and our little books. And this gives you some information so you can kind of put things in context. So we have this information on citizenship. We do have a Puerto Rican Voices piece on the Jones Act and citizenship. And there's a lot of layers to that. We can't teach that to you in 1 hour or one class, but we can give you some resources so you can start looking at things. We do have a Centro journal that is dedicated to that piece, and with that, tons of resources, because these are the minds that are working on that, like around the clock. So that information is there. We have been doing a lot about Puerto Rico and the crisis and the hurricane and the post-hurricane for all kinds of obvious reasons. Okay, we need to know and be able to speak on this as we advocate for people. And we also need to understand how this happened and where it came from. Like Edwin said, and a lot of us have said, this is not, the hurricane really blew the cover off of things, that it wasn't the only problem. There were lots of problems before this hurricane. Now the hurricane has kind of put everything out there for all of us. And then the first 2 modules are very, very U.S. Puerto Rican centric, and that's very good and very important. But we come from somewhere. So there is a module that talks about Puerto Rican history, i.e. island history. And then sometimes there's an overlap between what's happening here and what's happening there, right? That sometimes there's some things happening here and some things not happening there. So it's to help you to understand and contextualize that piece. The benefits, besides being like super cool, like me and the kids from Holyoke, Centro can and will recognize you as being an ambassador. And if you are creating materials, you know, Centro will happily look at and hopefully share that material. Some of that might be a part of our cultural ambassador if it fits the whole, you know, Puerto Rican diasporic focus, or even, you know, with the island depending. So we are going to help you to teach and share. We're going to, you know, allow you to either conduct workshops with us or help sponsor it. We do have our newsletter. We have, is Josue still here? No. We have someone who does publicity for us. And that's important because sometimes we do really good work in little teeny tiny boxes all by ourselves, and we forget to make the darn flyer, and no one knows. And we need everyone to know what we're doing. And the shyest thing. But once I started publishing books, it was all about making sure it was out there, because the editorial house sunk in a lot of money into this project. And it wasn't just because I worried about them making money, it's like I knew there weren't Puerto Rican books out there. If my little book doesn't make it out there, no one's going to know this story. So our work, we need to let people know we're doing this work, to join this work, replicate this work.
Well,
yes.
Also, the important thing is not only to set publicity, not only that you where do you put them that they will have the maximum
Exactly.
exposure?
In the
And
magazine.
the public library,
Exactly.
every state has public libraries.
Exactly.
And that's a method by which you distribute.
Right.
But I have another question to ask you. Is anybody writing regarding the Puerto Rican development in different cities? Because we have a tremendous history in this
Right.
hall in
Right.
Philadelphia.
Right.
In my family's in Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay.
You know, and, you know, very seldom know, we know about New York City.
Right.
We may know about Philadelphia. We certainly know about Hawaii.
Right.
But very few people know what's going on in Cleveland, Ohio.
Right.
And that's a very major Puerto Rican community there.
Well, in 2016, we did take a film crew out to Cleveland, Ohio, because Cleveland's right next to Lorain. And so we decided to talk to them too. So we did oral histories with both Lorain and Cleveland populations. We do have that footage. I've shared it with the Cleveland Public Libraries. We have been talking to them about them committing to funds to develop this, because each minute of film that you see is about $1,000 to $2,000 to produce. So none of this is easy, none of this is cheap. Okay, as Jasmine can tell you, it's like hours and hours, hearing the same story over and over. You go to bed at night with the stories in your head. So it's stuff that we're working towards. I am personally writing grants to the Cleveland Foundation to try and do some of this work and, you know, to get some of these stories up. But, you know, Centro can do only so much, and then we need scholars and activists and other people to push their own cities and to say, give us the monies. And that's what we're doing with Cleveland Foundation. Hopefully next time I see you, I'll be like, they gave us gobs of money. Fingers crossed. Okay. All right, so just lastly, I want to end with what we're doing for the little ones. So, we have come up with this Culture Ambassador Junior, because how many of us know children? Everybody. All right. And I'm happy to say, not only have we come up with it, we've partnered with the Department of Education here in New York City. So they let us go in with a film crew. They turned themselves into gigantes for us. They let Dr. Jum go on and teach them plena. And these are our little links that are up on our page. So we have these small little mini documentaries, and we have picked, we've started with 4 books, full disclosure. Mine is the one down here with the Gigante. We have, once again, Virginia Sanchez Corvo with her children's book, A Surprise for Teresita, a beautiful story about East Harlem. We have this poet named Tato, and he has Mayanito's New Friends, and anyone who knows Tato loves Tato, so we just love Tato. We also have Judith Ortiz, who's another incredible artist, writer, with the Put Upstairs about the Julia de Burgos story. And then I'm happy to say I'm honored to be up there with these really great Puerto Rican writers. So this is through Arte Publico Press, so they're bilingual children's books. Sure, I would say from 4 to 100, right? That we share, and we have caregiver teaching guides for those. And we are hoping in the very near future to finish up an animated piece that we're doing on, well, like Elba says, the title is Perez y Martina with Pura. The newest version is Martina la Cucarachita Musical. Instead of looking for a man and powdering her face, she is joining a singing competition, and she is going to bring people together with music and song. So stay tuned. We have a lot of stuff we're hoping to make, and we want you all to, I know, no, super cute, yeah. We're like stay up at night thinking of cutesy ways to like bring people into this.
So to wrap up, and thank you all, to locate the Cultural Ambassador Program is right on our website, the Education tab, and you just click on Cultural Ambassador Program. You can read the text and register, and it'll send you to Moodle. It's similar to if you're familiar with Blackboard. It's an educational platform, and you select the material that you're going to read or view. There's a quiz. It's not super hard. Don't get scared. And there's also teaching guides, you know, too. So it's organized very well. I have my cards. If you'd like to discuss and really reach and connect with us, we'd love to do that. And we also look forward to, again, I have to plug our film series, Orgullo. And thank you all for being here. Any last thoughts?
Nothing, especially,
especially if you're at a school or in a district and then you know there might be some partnering, I forgot to mention, we are launching the first For Credit class in Lorain, Ohio, because everything doesn't start in New York. On September 30th. And we are using about 70% of the materials as cultural ambassador materials. So once you finish my course, you'll be a cultural ambassador and you'll get 3 credits. So we're hoping to do those kind of things throughout the United States because we need to institutionalize this. You all are going to do this yourselves, you're going to help your little groups, and that's great. But we need people with money and with power to say yes to us because they should. And the only way we get them to say it is if we ask them. And we can say it nicely, because I say it nicely. But I also say it with like, it's about time. Because my people have been in Lorain since the 1950s. And the class I'm starting is the first time in history they do that for my people. Unacceptable. And the numbers of retention show why our kids don't stay there. So we're not asking for anything, we're doing them a favor. We're going to bring you our people, we're going to help you make our people successful, and then you're going to get more grants and get more money. Okay? So, yes.
Yeah, first of all, good morning, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Abraham, and I'd like to put an introduction in Chile, Guayama, de Brujita y Positivo. But I just want to mention to you that I want to put a seed in my support for the Center for Puerto Rican Studies. And they know that Ms. Melinda and Ms. Rosa, that in terms of getting action involved, because everybody's thinking, what can I do? And I thought about what I did. And what I did, because I live in New York City, and during the summer, just to kill time, what am I going to do? And I went to Orchard Beach. And when I went to Orchard Beach, every Sunday, we sit down in bailando, dancing, and I was able to do with the permission, and of course, Ms. Melinda's know, that what I did is I put a lot of those brochures, those books of information on Centro Puerto Rican Studies and History, and I circulated in Orchard Beach, and especially to the Puerto Rican community, and orally letting them know the wonderful things that they're doing with Centro Puerto Rican Studies. And I gave them some of these brochures too, stating to become involved. So the community was a little bit resistant because I've been doing this for about 3 years. So it was much more when they were seeing the symbol of the black and white flag, for example, it was, oh my goodness. But as be able to, they kind of relax, and, and more acceptance of the issues of in silence, of educating, and the importance that the Center for Puerto Rican Studies be the place to get involved. So after 3 years, I said, this is the one. And I would tell the youth and everyone, become an ambassador. So I just want to share with you that sometimes I became like an ambassador doing this. I went, oh, I'm an ambassador, but I have to get more education. So I'm basically saying is that all of us should try to put a seed as our leadership, because we are the leaders of the future. And Center for Puerto Rican Studies is the place where we contribute. Why? Because when I go to Orchard Beach, you have people from Santo Domingo, from Cuba, from people from Mexico, and we are showing our leadership, not only bailando, because part of the humor I put, vamos a bailar, and we dance in Orchard Beach, okay? But some moments we're expressing the importance of the solidarity and our example as the leadership of the Puerto Rican community, that we are involved, and I'm very proud, I'm very excited.
Elizabeth, I want to thank you.
I could just go on and on and on. But, keep it up.
Well, I just want to lastly say with that, Literacy Inc. has approached us to create a Literacy Ambassador program. And I've shared this with people of other groups, and I'm like, we did not copyright the concept of ambassadors. Like, if you know other groups and they want to do it. Like, we should be ambassadors and learn about all kinds of different cultures. So this is a format, this is something we want to share with you. We definitely, like Elizabeth is doing, want you to share with others. But if tomorrow you want to make an ambassador for ecology, beautiful, and send us the link, hopefully we can share it. So thank you all for being here.
One last thing, and I almost forgot. We do need to transition quickly because there's another session here. It's the Puerto Rican Student Coalition. But in the back are some beautiful posters that were created on Pura Bre's life and her legacy, and my invitation and offer to you as you're exiting, just take a look and walk through. We did, unfortunately, we need to apologize, we had some issues with the easels. So we improvised, or I improvised, and we just made it happen. But please take a moment to view. I think that they're very visually appealing and just tell the history of her life.
And we'll be playing a Voices episode as you all walk out, so you can hear
share our kids on.
Melinda, are these posters available, like Centro's Puerto Rico history?
Those are available. We have a series of posters that are chronology of Puerto Rican, the Puerto Rican experience in the U.S. and 3 maps posters that are also available. We can mail those to you.
Those are not available.